What we gonna do right here is go back. Way back. Back into time.
It's time to kick it old school with a new school flair, taking you back to a time where things felt good.
Wow! I feel good.
Welcome to Old Fashioned Health. Today is the day to take back your health. Old Fashioned Health is just the right place to do it. Your host, Alvin, is determined to make sure you are in good health inside and out. Now, the time has come for some good old-fashioned health right here on 1100 AM. Here's
Alvin!
How y'all doing out there, Atlanta? How y'all doing? This is Alvin and Jerry, old school, new school, here on the Old Fashioned Health Show. What's up, Jerry?
Man, what's going on, Alvin? What's going on, Atlanta? It's your boy, DJ 9D.
You know what? I always laugh just before the show starts because every time you just be waiting to just cue me in. I think he just have a good time doing it. When you going to drop your finger, man? Let me come on in. Hey, y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening. We have an absolutely amazing show today.
Yes.
We're going to tackle some issues, some talk about some things that's in the
Real
news.
life issues.
Always in the news. And people just don't talk about it. But we brought somebody in today all the way from New York.
New York, D.C.,
Maryland, international. We just call it international. And she deals with HR-related issues.
Yes.
Today we're going to talk about sexual harassment in the workplace, the Me Too movement.
Yep.
The lady here with us today, young lady, Miss Diana George from By George HR Solutions.
Yes.
By George HR Solutions. I like the By George.
Yeah.
Kind of remind. I don't know. I'm thinking about a sitcom or something. That By George. I don't know why that sticks in my head like that. It's a nice little catchphrase. So welcome to the show, Miss Diana. We're gonna let you tell them a little bit about yourself, and then I'm gonna kind of go into the rest of the show, and then we're gonna take a break and come back. But tell them a little bit about yourself, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I am so pleased to be here and excited to talk about this subject. So a little bit about myself. My background is human resources. I've been in human resources for quite a while.
Okay.
I fell into it by mistake itself, but wound up loving it because I really get a chance to help people and interact on a regular basis with people. And so I've been there for a while. I've worked for some very global companies, both speakers. I've worked for the Swatch Group, the watch company, and their luxury brand Omega.
Okay. Did you bring us a watch?
I know, right?
I didn't bring you one, but I have one on.
I know, right? It's nice. Wow. Thank you again so much for coming.
Yes.
This whole thing about sexual harassment and the Me Too movement, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what the Me Too movement really is all about.
Exactly.
And from your standpoint and your view, I'm excited for you to get a chance to share with the listening audience, as opposed to, we taking our own version of what we feel like it really is, and may not have an understanding why, the importance of it, and the whole thing with the sexual harassment thing all together. I told Diana when the show started, I said, listen, we got an educational moment that we're going to tell you about.
Oh.
And here it goes. So usually when we start our show off, we always start our old school, new school show off with the Black National Anthem. And we do the Black National Anthem because a lot of times HBC, I went to Jackson State. They've never played the Black National Anthem. And we always talk about taking a knee and all that kind of thing.
Right.
But we never played the Black National Anthem at the HBCUs. Okay. And so what we usually ask our guests is, have you ever heard of Black National Anthem?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, you'd be surprised at how many people be like, no, never heard of it. Especially they may be older and has never heard of the Black National Anthem. Be like, I didn't know what that was, So we try to share it. We play it always on our show. And we try to educate people on the Black National Anthem. It was written by two brothers. Yep. They were written. One was a poet, the other was an attorney. And so they put it to music and then
made magic.
And made magic.
Yeah. All right.
And that's how that's what we always do. Okay. All right. So and then another thing we do is we play a lot of old school music between our conversation. See how well you know your music history. But she told me something a minute ago, old school. I'm not going to tell you. I can't tell you on the air, but it's going to surprise you. Yeah? All right? Oh, yeah. His favorite, as a matter of fact.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, hold on.
All right, now let's go get the show started. We'll tell you
who your brother is.
All right, y'all. This is Albert and Jerry on the Old School, New School on the Old Fashioned Health Show on the Real 1100.
decided I didn't want to sing it by myself anymore. So I invited some of my dear friends to help me sing about freedom and cause it to ring. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky.
Let it resound loud as the rolling sea.
Oh, from me to you, my sister, let freedom ring. And from me to you, my sister,
And from me to you, my brother,
God of our weary, God of our silent tears.
thou who hast brought us thus far. Please keep us forever, yes, forever free, yeah, forever in the path we pray. Let it ring to the young. Keep me, Lord, and sing a song. That the dark past has taught us.
Sing a song
Of the hope that the present has brought. Facing the rising sun.
another day.
Another day.
Be gone.
Let us march on till victory.
My
Let us
door.
march on till victory.
From the mountains of Zion, yeah. Let freedom ring to the fruited plain and to all the freedom. I said freedom. Let it ring, let it ring, let it ring. Can you feel it?
Yes, I can feel it.
Can you hear it?
Traditional eye care and trend-setting eyewear. That's what's provided at Dr. Charles Optical in Atlanta. Whether it's the top brands of contact lenses or the best affordable designer eyeglasses, Dr. Charles is here to accommodate your vision needs. So stop by Dr. Charles Optical at 1700 Northside Drive Northwest, Suite C3 in Atlanta. You can also set up an appointment by calling 678-974-2900 or by visiting drcharlesoptical.com. Dr. Charles Optical. Look fabulous and see perfectly.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Old School, New School here on the Old Fashioned Health Show on the Real 1100. We are sitting here today with Miss Diana George, from By George HR Resources. And we're going to have a great show today. Thank you again so much for coming.
Thank you.
And we're going to be old school is happening for a lot of reasons.
For a lot of reasons.
We gave him a secret after the
Man. Man.
So we're going to go ahead on and kick this show off,
Yes.
with Diana. And so we want you to talk to us about the whole thing with sexual harassment.
Yes.
And why do you think the sexual harassment seems not to be, why is it getting so high right now? Why is it so bad now versus the way it used to be back some time ago?
What I will say is I don't think things have changed that much. And so when you say, why does it seem so bad, I think that this has been happening in our workplace for a very long time now itself, but it's just coming to the surface. And I think the Me Too movement made it easier for people to come forward and talk about the subject itself. And so with that being said, you have more people that are coming forward, they're sharing their stories, and they're not afraid to actually share the stories. So it's been something that's been in our workforce for a very long time. And so I want to just take a minute and also share my story, if you don't mind, because that's, one of the reasons why I'm very passionate about this. And so, my mom and my dad were very much in tune with us as kids. And so my mom always told me, well, someone touches you, you say something. So I got that very early on itself. And so I knew that. But I was in high school, and it was my senior year, and I was doing a work-study program. And I wound up working at a hospital. And I was working for the head of the hospital at the time. It was kind of like an administrative position. And during that time frame, my girlfriend was dating his son, which was around our age. And this older man started coming on to me.
Wow.
And as he started coming on to me, I felt very, very uncomfortable. And I didn't know really how to handle it. I didn't know what to do. And so what I did was I became very mean. I became very distant, and I became very mean. And fortunate for me that the individuals that I worked with and the individuals that hired me knew that something was wrong because it wasn't part of my personality.
Right.
And so they sat me down, and after, some coaxing, I told them what was going on. And they went ahead and they moved me from that area, and they moved somebody else over to, where I was. And so I thought a lot about that over the course of the years. But one of the things that stuck out for me was, number one, they didn't really handle the situation. They kind of put a Band-Aid on it.
Right.
Okay, it was like, okay, let's just get her out of there. But then they put somebody else there. So it really didn't handle what the problem was.
Right.
It really didn't address it. But then I had to take a look also as to why I didn't share it with my parents. I had parents that I knew if I told them, they would believe me. But I think for me as a young woman, I kind of took it internally like, okay, I must have did something that made this person think that it was okay to do this. So I started internalizing and saying, okay, what did I do wrong itself?
Right.
And then also I thought, well, maybe I'm overreacting. And if I am overreacting and I tell my parents, I might get this grown up in trouble.
Exactly.
And so I didn't want to say anything. And so I just kept quiet. And probably, I don't think up to this day my parents even know that situation happened. But thank God, because of the way that my mom had taught me things, it didn't go any further than it did.
Right.
And like I said, my way of handling it was just to get very distant and get very mean. And fortunately, I had people around me that understood there was something that was going on. And so once again, I think that this has been in our workforce for a very, very long time now. And it's just really starting to come to the surface where we're starting to have the conversations that we really need to have.
Right.
And the next step is now putting solutions there so that we don't have this happening any longer.
Taking action.
So, a lot of times when it comes to sexual harassment, people don't report it, like you said, right away. And then sometimes they report it later on.
Right.
And the first question is, well, why he or she wait so long, And some of the steps you're talking about as to how you address it make you understand why sometimes people do wait a little longer to make a decision to say something.
Right.
What's the difference between, most time people think sexual harassment only happens to females.
Nope.
So let me talk a little bit about that, because it's sexual harassment. I just want to go back and as we're talking about this, because I really want everybody to understand this. And so the EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, I'm going to tell you what their definition of sexual harassment is. And it's defined as unwelcome sexual advances, requires a request for sexual favors and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature when Submission to each conduct is made either explicitly or implicitly a term of condition of the individual's employment. So meaning that meaning that, okay, in order for me to stay here, I have to do
exactly.
this.
Yeah.
To get that promotion and all that stuff. Yeah.
So the other thing is submission to or rejection of such conduct by an individual is used as a basis for employment decisions affecting such individuals. So once again, if you don't do this, then I'm not going to be able to give you this job or this promotion.
Right.
And then such conduct has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's work performance or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. So 70% of our time is spent at work every day.
That's right.
So can you imagine if you're going to work every day and this is what you're facing every day? It is going to affect overall not only your work performance, but it's going to affect your personal life as well.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes to this. But to get back to your question, Alvin, 81% of women experience sexual harassment in the workplace. 81%. Now, 43% of men experience the same thing.
That's a large
Right,
percentage.
so it is.
Yeah.
So it's on both ends itself, and so it really lends itself to a conversation, and it lends itself to why do we have this here? And I have a theory on this.
Okay.
And so my theory is when by the time we get to the workplace itself, this has been behavior that's been there for a period of time.
Right.
Okay, so it just didn't happen overnight. It's been there for a while. And so we really need to pull it back some and take a look at why is it there.
So maybe like the culture has allowed it to continue.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's culture at work, and it's culture within our society.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's
everyday life.
It's everyday life. And so we really need to take a look at how we're interacting with each other all the time. So it's not just subjective to work, but it's in everything that we do. So I say it goes back to, the universities and the colleges and high school and even middle school. It starts very early on in teaching each other how do we respect each other as we go along.
Middle school.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what? In so many ways, so many questions I want to ask about this. But so let me ask you this way: so the people can understand, what does sexual harassment? A good example of what people may take as a mild. That wasn't sexual harassment, something like that. Somebody may say something and be like, oh, well, that wasn't sexual harassment, but they don't realize it is sexual harassment based on, some of the stages or things that could happen.
Right.
Certain things you could say to somebody, you could speak to a young lady or vice versa, and that's borderline sexual harassment. What does that sound like? Give me some examples of what it looks like that may be simple to some, but it's really serious.
I'm glad that you
That's
asked
a
that.
good
So I'm
question.
going to give you some examples and several different examples. So a verbal example may be referring to an adult as girl, honey, doll, baby, or that
Terms of
type of thing.
endearment.
Those terms that we would find offensive. And so the thing is, if you have someone that's not saying anything, and this person's there in the workplace, and they're constantly doing this, after a while that person kind of shuts down.
Yeah.
And so it affects a lot of things. It affects the morale of an individual, their confidence itself. And so people, the whole thing is people need to be able to speak up. They need to be able to
That's
say
exactly
something.
what I was about to say. I feel like it's other people's job as well if they want it to change, due to the fact that if you see something wrong, go up there and address it besides just saying nothing at all.
Right.
No,
you are so correct. New York, we have this saying, especially on the subway, if you see something, say something.
Yeah,
Right.
It's
definitely.
the same thing here in this. You have to be able to say
Yes,
something.
yes.
And being in human resources, I've had an opportunity to do investigations, when it relates to sexual harassment. And it's always interesting because as you start to have conversations with people, some people kind of place things down. Well, I didn't really think anything was so bad, or, it didn't seem like anything. But then when I turned the tables and I asked them, well, how would you feel if you were in that person's shoes? And
Right.
then all of a sudden the whole viewpoint shifts. And they see something, they feel something,
Right.
and the light bulb goes off. And so we need to take a look at the behavior and not so much who it's happening to,
Right.
but is it behavior that should be happening at all?
exactly.
So you gave us some examples with words, the way people, honey and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
What would be another example of where maybe sexual harassment and they think, well, maybe like if you walk in the office and hug somebody, say, hey, how's your day today? Is that
You know, I think that we have to be very cognizant of people around us and how people perceive certain things. And so I'll give you a big example. I used to work in a company that was a Swiss company. And so normally the Swiss, when they greet you, they will give you a kiss on each cheek.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, what if I'm a person that doesn't like people to kiss me? You know what I'm saying? So we have to be aware. And so normally if there's someone that does not want you to, actually give them that kiss, what will happen is that person will kind of stiffen up.
Right.
You can tell that, oh my gosh,
Right.
they don't want that to happen. So I think we have to be aware of what's going on. And so that means we have to be in tune with each other and people and be able to see certain things as well. So, but a nonverbal one would be, looking somebody up and down. And I always give this example.
wow. Okay.
It's one of those things. We all go to work every day and, we get dressed and we want to know that we look good.
Right.
We
Right,
get
right.
dressed to look good.
Right.
And it's one thing for somebody to give us a compliment, say, oh, you look really nice today, and we can have that. But if somebody looks you up and down and say, you look good today, baby, it's a different type of flow.
Right.
And so it's one of those things that I always tell people, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, then you should probably say something because that's the start of something. And if you don't let somebody know, then they will continue to do those things.
Okay. Question.
Sure.
What is the proper way to approach if
You want to get somebody comfortable.
if you want to not perceive as of a sexual harassment or anything like that, what is the proper way to just walk up to a significant other, male or female, and present yourself?
I think, just like I said, if you said to me, if I saw you, Alvin, you had on a nice suit today, wow, that's a nice suit, Alvin, you look nice today.
Okay.
That's, and people can have that.
Right.
It's
Right.
when it kind of gets that icky type of flow.
Right,
You-
right.
You know what I'm saying? And most of the time, innately, we know when it's that icky type of flow.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if it makes you feel icky, it probably is
Is
icky.
icky.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So being
makes
able to perceive that itself. And so, but there's a lot of things that can happen, following the person in this day and age.
Exactly.
We have social media. And so we also have another thing that we need to be aware of, following people on their social media itself.
Yeah.
That could be perceived as sexual harassment. A lot of companies address that in their internet policy itself because that, once again, is sexual harassment.
I feel like that's the biggest impact on sexual harassment because everything is so social media driven. Yeah, social media driven, and I feel like it's just not.
Well, it's the newer technology than what we grew up on as far as sexual harassment.
Everything just got advanced, man.
Yeah, well, back in the day, if somebody said something to you, then you just slam the phone down. Hang up. You ain't got you can't slam you can't that S9,
really
you can't slam no X9 on the floor and not talk to them anymore. So I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to ask you a few more questions about not only just the workplace, but just everyday.
Sure.
Right.
Like people think sexual harassment only happened in the workplace, but we talked about where it happened in the entertainment industry and all those kind of things, sports and all those things. So we're going to cover a lot more. And if y'all have any questions, please feel free to give us a call. If you have questions for Diana, please feel free to call in. The number is 404-603-8770. 404-603-8770. Now, here's the time we play a little music. See how well you know your music. This is Alvin and Jerry, Old School, New School on the Old Fashioned Health Show on the Real 1100.
Treat her like a lady. every way.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Old School, New School on the Old Fashioned Health Show on the Real 1100. You sound like you act like you might know that song. She was rocking.
I love old school music.
She was rocking to the music over here. So listen, we're having a great time today. We have Miss Diana George here on the show with us today, talking about sexual harassment in the Me Too movement. Mm-hmm. She is the owner of By George HR Resources. Do you have a website?
I do. I do.
What's your website?
My website is www.bygeorgehr.com.
Any social media? Instagram,
I do. I have.
Facebook?
Oh my gosh, I have everything. I had so many things. I had to write it down.
You definitely got to write it down for those who's trying to.
Sure, absolutely. So you can reach me at solutions@bygeorgehr.com if you like to. I am on Twitter, Diana George @bygeorgehr, and then I'm Instagram, bygeorgehr. I am on Facebook, Diana George, as well as By George HR, and then I'm also on LinkedIn.
Okay,
Diana George.
That's just about that's all of them.
Covering all the bases.
Yeah, you're covering all the bases with them. So let me ask you this: we were talking just a minute ago. Old School brought up a very, very good. Very good analogy.
And speaking to the young cats for this too, because I feel like older gentlemen don't really go that far with it, but to the young cats out there.
Especially, but just in case some of y'all are
OGs out there
doing that. The analogy he brought up that he asked Diana was, if you see a female or a male and they're dressed a certain way, does that give you the right to call them out, as Old School said, by the book, the cover of the book? And so you said?
And so I said no. I said, you should always act accordingly itself. And so what that person is doing has nothing to do with how you actually act itself.
Right.
And so Michelle Obama, I think she said it best. When they go low, we go high.
That's right.
And so you always maintain and do what's the right thing to do. Right. And I think that's what we need to really be taking a look at right now. What's the right thing to do all the time? I think this subject right now, we are where we are because so many other things have happened in our society that's got us away from some core values.
Exactly.
And so as a result of getting away from those core values, you have these other things that are happening. Let's get back to some basics and some real core values itself. And then, we'll be able to start solving this issue.
I want to talk a little bit about the Me Too movement. It has the Me Too movement has gotten a bad rap in some certain places, and some others been like, okay, the whole Me Too movement is controversial for some people. They're like, well, this is the way she act, which is what you just answered. Just because a person looks a certain way don't give you the right to treat them a certain way. You have to treat them the way you want to be. Explain to us, what do you think about the purpose of the Me Too movement and the message that they're trying to send?
I think with the Me Too movement, this was something that was put there because you had something that had been going on for such a long time. And so it finally got to the point that people felt comfortable, women, to come out and say, this actually happened to me too. Right. And so it was to bring it out. It was to really start the discussion and start holding people accountable for what has really been happening. I don't think it was ever put there to now put a divide between men and women, because this is something that we all have to be able to talk about itself. But I do understand, because I do understand that some men have now become afraid, like, do I even say anything? Or, especially in the workplace, especially when you have men who are working with women that should be mentoring them and other things, they're being a lot more cautious about it. And the thing is, it's really more of a dialogue. It's really more of a conversation. And so we as a society don't confront a lot of things until we have to. Right. We're more of a reactive society versus being proactive about things. And so when we're reactive, we're not really taking a look at what needs to happen itself. And so if we're being proactive about things, we can have those conversations.
Right.
Now, one of the things that happens is we have been taught in our society that, okay, confront is a very bad word. Okay, if you're confronting something, that means that it's something serious, it's bad, there's agitation, it's a knockout, drag out, and that's not the case. Right. If you can really confront something, that means that you should be able to have a conversation comfortably about something. Right. And so if something is happening and I can have that conversation comfortably, I can easily confront it. I can take responsibility for it. I can feel cause over it.
I feel like on the men's side, when it comes to just being sexual harassed, they feel like they can't speak up due to the fact that they got to be the man. They got to be strong-minded. They got to have the backbone. It's a lot of men out here that has been sexual harassed at a very young age.
Right.
From other men or women, you know, and I really feel like that molds it goes either two ways, good or bad, what you want to be. And I feel like from that experience,
with that experience, it's kind of harder to accept that it actually really happened.
Yeah.
You know? Or I think we take it for granted.
Yeah.
That it don't happen to men.
Right, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see a lot more of that itself, and this has been going on for years. And,
Yes.
you know, I hate to say this, but the Catholic Church. I mean, let's take a
keep
look at
100,
what's been happening
Let's
here
keep
for
100,
years.
yeah.
And so we can't take it for granted that it's not happening to our young men itself, and it also shapes them and their decisions as they move forward. And so I think it's one of these things that we all have to be willing to have the conversation, but we also have to be transparent, and we have to make it okay for people to come forward and say something itself, and say it when it's happening. Because the thing is, a lot of times people feel like, I'm not going to say anything and maybe it'll go away.
Right.
And that's not going to happen either. Because I'm going to tell you, in HR, as I would do investigations also, when things would happen and I would talk to people and I would say, well, why did you wait? Why didn't you come? Well, I didn't want to come because I felt like there might be retaliation, which, by the way, 75% of people feel like there is some sort of retaliation when they come forward and they do speak about it itself. But at the same time, if you're not going to speak about it or bring it to a person that can assist you with it, it just continues to get worse.
Right.
And all the things that go along with it in terms of the individual, those things don't go away.
Right.
And so it does not make a good place to have to come to work every day. It doesn't make a good working environment. It's just a miserable situation to be in for the individual itself.
And that's kind of scary, because imagine them late night shifts, like them 11, 12 o'clock late night shifts, and by being stopped, being sexual harassed, or whatever case may be, going to your car by yourself, or whatever case may be, anything can happen to you. So I really do feel like this situation is much more serious than what it comes off of, because people believe they are right when it comes down to doing certain things.
They think it's okay to do
They
it.
think they really do, and I really feel like that brings that significant other, especially if you're working with that person, in a dangerous situation.
No,
So,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
You know, I think about when I was in corporate America, and my boss had to call some young ladies into the office, because when we have casual day, you know how casual day is, you would wear clothes, and she would hear them commenting on maybe anatomy of
Yep.
the body and stuff like that, and she would hear him. And to be honest, it did get to the point where you'd be like, let me just go around my cubicle and go the other way, because I'm not going to walk down this aisle and hear the cat calling, because most time women think, or it's thought of, that cat calling only happened to women. But it happened to men too.
It
You
happened
could
to
be
men,
walking.
too.
Yeah, I mean, I just got a little call yesterday. I'm like, what's going on? You know, I just got a little fresh haircut, and they hang it all out the window. I'm like, really? You know?
Man, look, it ain't no time to boost yourself up.
Right.
But,
Yeah. So I have a question for for the parents that are listening right now, and they're sending their kids to school, because you said it happened to younger kids as well. And by the way, Diana's going to be on Kids Are Chefs. She's going to be talking to some teenagers about sexual harassment and the Me Too movement, to teach them at an early age.
I meant to ask you that question. What was the not craziest, but what was the most interesting story that you heard from, like, certain people when it comes down to just being sexual harassed?
You know what? I something told me you were going to ask me this question. I was thinking about this as I was here.
You know, old school,
Right. So the most interesting one that I heard, and it goes to show you also how sometimes we don't take a look at saying things for the right reasons. In a workplace, this individual was working, and there was a guy that was there, and he was looking at pornography on his computer at work on a regular basis. So she was able to see it as she went back and forth. And she even told him that she didn't feel comfortable, but she didn't say anything to anybody else, and he continued to do it.
Wow.
And then I think she got mad at him for something else that he had done. And it was only then that she reported him, but not for that, but for something else.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. We really need to, be able to go and have the conversations. But I will say this, in companies, we need to make sure that we have the right reporting. So, every company should have an HR person, or they should have that designated person that someone can go to itself and have these conversations and report something. And if something is reported, there is a responsibility to do an investigation and to find out and take a look at all the facts and everything that's going on and really handle it and expeditedly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It should not be something that you're waiting a week or 2 weeks or, a few months
Right
down
then
the
and
line.
there.
This is something that's crucial, and it needs to be handled right away. And it's to the point that many states right now, in addition to what the EEOC has in place, they're also putting additional policies in place. So California is one of those states. They've always had, things there for employees, and they definitely have a sexual harassment policy that's there. You also have several other states. I think Maine, you have Delaware, Connecticut, and then New York is one of the newest states that's just put a very comprehensive sexual harassment policy
You would
in place.
think it would be New York too
Yeah.
as well, because that's a
Do we
very
have one
busy
yet?
city.
You know if Georgia has
Georgia
one?
does not. Georgia, goes by what the EEOC has, and then I'm quite sure you have employees that have something in place. But now, when these states are putting these things in place, then companies have to have certain things in place.
I believe every state should have that.
Yeah, and it really should. But when you take a look at the EEOC is there
Right.
to have something
Exactly.
that's there as a guidelines or something that's there, but now states are feeling like that's not enough, and so
right.
they're now putting
Really?
additional things in place itself.
And how much of that do you think is political? Putting something in place.
Well, I think California has had something in place for a while now. In fact, I know that in California, if you're a manager, supervise people, that every 2 years you need to have some type of sexual harassment
Right.
training. The one that Mayor Cuomo just put in place in New York is very comprehensive. Also, in terms of you need to have a policy in place. You also need to have an interactive training, because it's also about preventive. It's also about the training part of it itself. It should be done annually, because you can't just do it one time and think that that's it.
Right.
Okay, because you have new people that come on board.
They
You
have
have
to be
people that
reminded.
leave.
They need a refresher course.
Right. So you need to do something that's, on an ongoing basis. But at the same time, I will say it's not enough to have what I call a check the box policy. It's not just, okay, I have this in place, I'm just going to check the box.
Right.
Is it effective? Because if it's not effective, then how good is it?
Right.
Because the effects it has on the company itself and on your employees.
Okay.
Could be detrimental. It's like we really should be providing a safe place for employees to come to work each and every day.
Honestly.
So when we come back, I have 2 questions I want you to be prepared for. One is sexual harassment. How do you handle it if you're being pulled over by the police and they are saying something to you in a way that you like, okay, what would you advise he or she to do if they're being surrounded? But get this, what if you're the police officer and you pull somebody over and then you're being sexually harassed as you try to do your job as a female cop or a male cop, and the person is like, I like the suit you got on, officer, all those kind of things. I mean, I'm sure that's sexual harassment, and so I'm wondering, do you have some things that you, besides telling them you can't do it, not to do it, or what it looks like when it happens to you? So that'd be one. And then the next question would be is when you have these kids that getting dressed for school in the morning, from 9th grade, from 7th grade on up, and you have the males and the females wearing certain clothes that look to be a little bit more inviting than the others. So I want you to definitely speak to the parents so they can just not say, well, I bought them clothes, I should be able to let my kid wear what they want.
Exactly.
I want you to educate them on how important it is to make sure they're dressed appropriately.
Right.
All right, y'all. So we'll be right back. This is Alvin and Jerry, Old School, New School. Here we are talking to Miss Diana George from By George HR Resources. We'll be right back.
Very
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come home. Just a little bit, baby, just a little bit.
Rejuvenation for youthfulness and beauty is trending worldwide. People are getting laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, skin brightening, tightening, lifting, and reshaping. Smartplex ATL, a comprehensive medical spa located in East Cobb, 4799 Old Town Parkway. You can also visit us online at smartplexatl.com. Dr. Alexander and his team enjoy pampering you while you receive customized treatments in a beautiful, calming, zen-like atmosphere. Smartplex ATL. We are your Hollywood destination for exciting, youthful rejuvenation.
How y'all doing? This is Alvin and Jerry, Old School, New School, here on the Old Fashioned Health Show. Old School.
What's going on, Alvin? What's going on, Atlanta? It's your boy, DJ 9D.
I'll be glad when the new studio have you on the inside of this glass, so you won't be like teasing me with this dark.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, we want to get rid of this glass. Yeah, we're having a really, really good time here
Very
with Diana
interesting.
George here from By George HR
Yep.
Resources.
Yep.
She's giving us some tips on sexual harassment, the Me Too
Mm-hmm.
movement, and proper workforce etiquette. Is that a good way to put it? How to properly work with your peers. And she bought us a really good book,
Yep.
The Way to Happiness. I
Common
want you to tell
sense
us a little bit
guide
about this book,
to
too.
better living.
So we was kind of joking about the police pulling you over. You trying to talk your way out of a ticket. Well, we kind of narrowed that down too. But we was also talking about the kids and the dress code. So can you address those things?
Sure. I want to make clear here that sexual harassment, it's about also power. It's about an individual having power and doing something, to someone that shouldn't be done. But I always think that there's things that overall that we can do and we can take responsibility for on both ends. And so I know, and I'll just flat out say this, I know when I was in high school, my mother checked me every day when I was walking out that door.
Make sure you have
and
the
if,
right
and
clothes.
if it wasn't if I didn't look the right way, you need to
But
go back and change
as
that.
it should be, though.
Right.
Change
I think
that.
they had a
It's,
word for you're not trying to be fast, are you? That used to be the
Right,
word. That used to
right.
be what they would say.
So I think that, it just involves parents being involved
Right.
and having those conversations itself, but also teaching both our young ladies and our young men that if something does happen, that they should definitely come and tell somebody right away and should not wait to do that.
You know what's crazy? I'm glad you pointed that out because a lot of parents today, especially the new parents like my age right now, put a tablet in front of their child and not properly raise them, have the entertainment, the industry, all that stuff entertain. Yes, all that stuff like that, which I feel like leads to sexual harassment. Do you agree?
I think, and because I have my son will be 24 in October, and him and I have always had a great relationship, and I've taken the opportunity to talk to him about all different things that could possibly come up,
Right.
and I've always made it so that he always felt safe and comfortable to come to me to tell me no matter what is going on in his environment itself.
Right.
And I think that as parents, that's all we want. We want our children to be able to come and talk to us. So it means that we need to provide a safe space for them to do that and transparency so that they will come no matter what. We should always be their go-to no matter what's going on
Exactly.
itself.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So the book, The Way to Happiness, Dan brought this book to us.
Oh, the story behind it.
Yeah, the story behind this book. How did this book come about? And you tell us something about there was a country that adopted this book to change their life. So the book is called The Way to Happiness: A Common Sense Guide to Better Living. So tell us a little bit about this book.
So The Way to Happiness is actually a foundation. It's in the LA area, and so it's a common sense guide to better living. And so there are some basic precepts in the book itself, 21 precepts on how we can do things to influence and impact our own life to be happy. And so very simple things, it's almost like honor your mother and father, be competent, so if you're at work, be competent, don't be promiscuous. It's all those type of things in there. The last one, which is 21, I absolutely love. It's called Flourish and Prosper.
Okay.
And so that's the best way to get revenge on anybody.
Yeah,
You just
flourish.
do well in life.
Yes.
You flourish and prosper. And so I utilize this book itself. I give it out. I have a customized cover. And so it can be used by anybody itself. You can go to the Way to Happiness Foundation itself. But if you go to my website, I have a downloadable version on my website that anybody can go to and download. Once again, my website is www.bygeorge, that's georgehr.com. You can download it. If you like a hard copy, if you will send me an email, I will go ahead and send you a hard copy. But this particular book was used in Colombia, where at one time we had so much crime that was there and corruption with the police officers, and it was actually used at a time when you didn't have tourists that even wanted to go over there. And as a result of utilizing this in the country with the police officers, they had better relationships with the people there itself. The crime rate has gone back down, the corruption has gone down, and now tourists are going back there. And so this is something that's has been used worldwide.
Cool.
We're going to get into some of our political leaders. I'm not calling no names. So a little bit about your company. You had a question, Oscar?
No. I was just wondering how long it took for it to be processed and everything like that.
This is because they have the foundation, so the book is actually there itself. And so in terms of if you would like to get a customized cover, like let's say the two of you want to get like your own customized cover, it takes very little time.
Oh, wow,
Maybe about a couple of weeks. You send them the artwork and they do it, and then you have your own customized cover, and you can give them out to whoever you like to.
We're going to look into that.
Yeah, I got to. Because I really do feel like this would change a lot of people's mindsets.
So let me ask you about this. Let's talk a little bit about your company while I've got a little time left. Yeah. If someone wanted to utilize your services, you actually can people can contract you to do HR services? How does that work? I mean, what can you do for a small business or a large business? How can you help them?
Sure, absolutely. So I think one of the things, if you're a smaller business, and I always talk to businesses about this, is making sure that you have some type of HR process in place. So if you're starting out a business, your goal is to start a business, you want to grow the business, you want to make a lot of money, eventually hire employees, and so start thinking with that. And so if you're thinking with that, start to put that HR process in place right from the very beginning. Because what happens is, as a business owner that's starting a business, everything is all up in your head.
Right.
So unless you start documenting things and writing things down, nobody else will know it. Right. And then if you start to move forward in that business the way that you want to, by time you get to a point that you actually can do it, you're going to be so busy and overwhelmed that now you're going to have to go back and try to think, okay, what did I do and what was that? So, I mean, taking a look at your company culture and what you want that to be and your mission statement, because you now start to build things around that and have a certain amount of compliance in your company that includes all the HR issues is great. So I definitely do that. I love really engaging and talking with employees. So the employee relations is something that I really enjoy, because my tagline is employees are your greatest brand ambassador itself. So we transform employees into solutions.
Walking billboards.
Exactly.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have a question. How many companies have you worked with? Like, can you name the companies or?
I mean, I've done this with, even when I was with Bose Speakers itself, I've been with Bose. The program that I'm doing right now, I have a sexual harassment training and workshop on respect in the workplace. I actually rolled that out when I was at the previous company itself. I had put the whole thing together. And so now I'm utilizing that with other companies, which really does, put together their entire policy. It actually trains employees, because once again, you don't want it to be a check the box, type thing. You want it to be effective. And so it's one thing to say, yep, we're in compliance, and yep, they checked that box, and yep, they did that. But is it effective? Are you still having issues within your company, or have you addressed some of the things that could potentially happen itself? And I will say this, I know that a lot of companies use the computer and set somebody in front of a screen. I'm going to tell you, I just don't feel that that's the best way, because you cannot gauge or find out what's going on with the group or the individual by just having somebody sit in front of a computer. You cannot tell if they're really getting it, if they've had the cognitions that they need to have, if it's really impinging, unless you're working with a group of people and you can see that for yourself. And so that's one of the things that I do encourage people to do. Have those trainings, those interactive trainings. And I think what happens is a lot of companies feel like, well, I don't want to take employees off the floor, or, they won't be in work. Well, I want you to take a look. If you don't do it correctly the first time, what it costs your company at the end of the day.
Don't come out your bank account.
Exactly.
And see, here's the thing. It seems like when you're watching the news, the first thing they'll say, so for instance, if there's a corporation or a particular entity that's done something that's related to impact HR, the first thing they said, well, we've implemented some new additional HR training. And so then they have to call you to bring you in to make the public relations look good. So we just hired By George HR resources to help us with this situation. We didn't know they had sexual harassment over here at this, those are the times when they call you at the last minute and say, can you fix us? Can you help us out? But so we only got a couple more minutes. I want you to have the last word. Yes. Your last and final thoughts.
Contact information, all that stuff.
Contact information, your final thoughts. And keep in mind, you're always welcome to come back.
Well,
yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So
Give
us your final thoughts on this whole HR thing. And
so my final thoughts is it's now time for a solution, and that solution really starts with a conversation. And it's a conversation that we should be having, and it's a conversation that everybody should be a part of itself. So those are my final thoughts there. And I know that we're at a point now where I think people are really willing and want to have solutions and have those conversations. And so it just needs to be done at this point. And then reach out to me. I would love to hear from others, anybody out there. Like I said, you can reach me at www.bygeorgehr.com or solutions@bygeorgehr.com. And then I'm on all the social media. I would love to talk to people further itself. And so I have some other things that I'm going to working on currently right now, because as we started talking about schools, I'm working with a couple individuals to maybe put together a curriculum that can be rolled out in schools that talks about respect. And my other project that I'm currently working on is putting together what I would call a life career boot camp itself, because I really feel at this point in time there's some job readiness skills that we don't have, in a certain segment that's needed out there itself. And so I'm working on a boot camp to address that.
And we waiting on that book. I'm just saying. Your book, because I know you have plenty of stories you could tell about this whole sexual harassment thing.
I already have the name of it. I will tell you. The name of it is "What About That Seemed Like a Good Idea at the Time."
Wow. Oh, I like that. What about that seemed like a good idea at the time?
So,
I would just like to say I'm honored. I'm truly, truly honored to have you on our show, and just keep doing what you're doing, because you're changing so many lives.
Well, thank
Making
you.
it better. And you're welcome to come back.
Well, thank you.
Anytime.
I'll probably take you up on that offer. Old School. It's been a pleasure. I love the music. And Alvin, thank you so much
more than
for
welcome.
having
Yes.
me.
Thank you. You all have been listening to Old School, New School on the Old Fashioned Health Show on
Wow.
Real 1100.
In my heart, we've got to walk on through temptation, 'cause His love and His wisdom will be our helping hand. I know the truth, and His word will be our salvation. Lift up our hearts to be thankful and glad that Jesus is love. He won't let you down.
Thanks for stopping by Old Fashioned Health with your host, Alvin. We hope the show has been informative and entertaining. And more importantly, we hope that we led you in the right direction to have good health inside and out. For more information on Old Fashioned Health, please visit our website at oldfashionedhealth.com. And be sure to join Alvin Monday through Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. for Old Fashioned Health right here on 1100 a.m. Take care.